Story number 1. On a cold, foggy evening, having stayed late at work, I began my drive home, a journey that I've made countless times. However, this night was different. The usually busy roads were now quiet, shrouded in a dense fog that seemed to consume the light from my headlights. The isolation was palpable, as if I had entered a world detached from reality. Unknown to me, this ordinary trip was about to evolve into a harrowing tale that I would never forget. As I made my way along the curvy back roads, a sudden burst of static from the radio shattered the silence. After an ineffective attempt to clear it, the noise ceased, leaving me in quiet once again. That's when I noticed the distant headlights in my mirror approaching rapidly. Initially, I dismissed it as just another nocturnal traveler.
Yet, as it neared, a sense of dread took hold. The other vehicle mimicked every turn that I took, shadowing me persistently. Trying to lose it, I accelerated, but it kept pace, a silent predator in the night.
The tension peaked when the vehicle pulled alongside me. Its windows were so deeply tinted that peering inside was impossible. Then, just as quickly as it had appeared, it accelerated away, vanishing into the mist. I briefly comforted myself with rational explanations, but a lingering unease remained, an unshakable feeling that something was amiss. This uneasy peace was short-lived. Further down the road, the same vehicle blocked my way, its doors opening to reveal 3 shadowy figures clad in nondescript attire. They stood still, an ominous barrier on my path. Faced with a palpable threat, I acted on instinct, reversing as my heart raced, my only thought to escape. After a brief absence, the menacing headlights soon appeared behind me again, this time with a menacing, aggressive pursuit. Pushed to the limit, I drove desperately, seeking any escape from this nightmare of a chase. It wasn't until I saw the lights of a police station that the pursuit ended, the mysterious car disappearing into the night as suddenly as it had appeared. At the station, the officers' reactions were a mix of doubt and concern, and despite their efforts, no evidence of my pursuers was found. Driving home as dawn approached, the night's terror replayed in my mind, a vivid nightmare. The identity and motives of my pursuers remained a mystery, but the experience left an unforgettable mark on me. The night road had transformed from a familiar path to one of unknown dangers. Now, I avoid those isolated back roads, sticking to the brightly lit safety of city streets, ever watchful of the shadows that might hide more than just the night. Story number 2. Late one evening, following a long day at work, I opted for a shortcut through an older residential quarter of the city to bypass the heavy traffic. This area, noted for its stately homes and lush avenues, typically offered a quiet escape from the urban hustle. Yet, under the night's cloak, with sparse streetlights casting wide shadows, a feeling of unease began to emerge, contradicting the neighborhood's usual calm. I noticed a strangely parked car by the curb with its driver's door open, making the quiet street look odd. I slowed down, thinking about offering help, because there were personal items scattered on the sidewalk, leading away from the car. The car owner's absence made the scene even more unsettling, breaking the usual neatness of the area. Torn between proceeding and investigating, a faint disturbance near the scattered belongings decided my course. It seemed urgent assistance was needed. Parking with my engine still running, I approached with caution. The trail led to a dimly lit alley flanked by old dwellings, barely touched by the light from my vehicle. Upon nearing, the sound of a scuffle reached my ears, a clear sign of distress.
I came upon a scene of confrontation. A young female in her 20s struggling to escape being held by an angry middle-aged man. Acting on instinct, I intervened, my sudden appearance surprising the attacker enough to momentarily break his hold. The woman, in distress, quickly took the chance to flee with me back to my car, where safety awaited. With the car doors secured and the engine accelerating, the weight of the encounter settled over me.
The journey to the nearest police station allowed the traumatized woman to seek assistance and formally report the incident. Reflecting on the events during my drive back home, the experience underscored the inherent unpredictability lurking within even the most familiar settings. That night transformed my understanding of safety in the urban environment, instilling a profound awareness and appreciation for the fortunate timing that enabled me to act. Story number 3. Driving alone on a chilly and foggy evening, I was returning from a late meeting, my route winding through a vast, thick forest. The road was damp with mist, signaling the approach of a storm poised to unleash its wrath on the land. This secluded highway, seldom traveled at night, used to be a source of comfort, offering a moment of peace amidst the journey's constant motion and the engine's steady drone. However, on this night, the solitude felt burdensome, as every shifting shadow cast by my headlights appeared increasingly menacing, turning the silence from a friend to a foreboding omen. The calm of the night was abruptly broken by a blaring horn, jolting me from my thoughts. In my rearview mirror, a truck's headlights bore down on me, cutting through the fog with an intensity that felt predatory, almost as if the driver was targeting me with deliberate malice. My heart raced as I nudged my car to the road's edge, hoping to let this intimidating presence pass. Yet, it clung to me, mirroring my maneuvers, its oppressive figure, a relentless shadow behind me. Confusion and fear converged in my mind, unable to comprehend the driver's sinister motives. Trying to escape this scary chase, I turned onto a quiet path that went deeper into the woods. The truck kept following me closely, its lights shining bright in the dark. This small, twisty road didn't let me get away from the person chasing me. Just when I thought there was no hope, I saw a small gas station with lights on through the fog, like a safe spot in the dark night. I pulled in and felt my heart drop as the truck parked right behind me.
Its driver, a large figure, stepped out and advanced towards me with purpose.
The atmosphere, charged with tension, shifted unexpectedly as the figure introduced himself as an off-duty officer in an unmarked vehicle. He clarified a misunderstanding. My car resembled one involved in a recent incident, and my panicked driving had aroused his suspicion. Relief washed over me as we sorted out the misunderstanding, the earlier terror fading into the night, leaving a mix of relief and residual adrenaline. The officer apologized for the alarm caused and retreated to his truck, vanishing into the fog as quickly as he had emerged. As I resumed my journey, the storm broke, rain hammering against the windshield, a backdrop to my turbulent reflections on the night's events. What started as a mundane drive home had morphed into a test of nerve, revealing how quickly situations can pivot, stirring our deepest anxieties. Despite the fear, the encounter concluded on a human note, a mix-up resolved through understanding, reminding me that not all fearsome encounters lead to dire outcomes. It was a night that imprinted itself in my memory, a story of dread turned into a lesson in perspective, filling me with a newfound gratitude for the peace that follows life's unexpected storms. Story number 4. In the middle of winter, during a big snowstorm that covered the city, I was driving home on slippery, icy roads after working late at the hospital. The city, normally lively and busy, was quiet and empty because everyone was staying inside away from the cold. The snow made everything silent, even the sound of my car as I drove through the empty streets. On this lonely drive, with the snow making it hard to see anything, I encountered a situation that would haunt me for years to come.
As I made my way through a particularly isolated part of town, the outline of a man stumbling through the snow caught my attention. This stranger was disoriented, and he displayed erratic movements against the howling wind. Concern overrode my hesitation, and I pulled over, rolling down my window to offer assistance. The man stopped, turning towards me, and in the dim light of my headlights, I could see the distress etched in his features, his clothes ill-suited for the biting cold. He spoke in hurried, panicked tones, relaying a tale of a broken-down car and a desperate need to reach the nearest shelter, his breath visible in the frigid air.
Compelled by a mix of empathy and concern, I unlocked the passenger door, inviting the man into the warmth of my car. As we drove, he pointed me down an unfamiliar route, a supposed shortcut to his destination. The snow seemed to fall even heavier, the world outside the car becoming increasingly opaque, the roads unrecognizable. A growing sense of unease began to settle in my stomach as the minutes stretched on, the promised shelter nowhere in sight. When I voiced my concern, my passenger's demeanor shifted, and the atmosphere in the car grew tensely silent. Understanding the gravity of the situation as the isolated road stretched endlessly before us, a moment of clarity pierced the tense atmosphere. The realization that the shortcut was a deliberate misdirection, a path leading us further into obscurity, sent a chill down my spine. As this understanding settled, a palpable shift occurred within the car. The stranger, sensing my growing apprehension, revealed a threatening demeanor, his initial plea for help morphing into a sinister ultimatum. Continue driving into the grim unknown or face immediate danger. Reacting on instinct, I pretended to be okay with what he said, all the while plotting my escape. My opportunity came at a sharp turn, where the road briefly widened. With a swift maneuver, I pretended to lose control, allowing the car to skid towards the edge. In the chaos, I seized the moment to act, forcefully pushing him against the passenger door, which I had unlocked at the last second. Caught off guard by the sudden movement, he stumbled out of the car into the deep snow. I quickly locked the doors and accelerated, leaving him behind, a dark figure diminishing in the rearview mirror against the stark, white landscape. This distressing escape left me shaken, driving through the storm with a heightened sense of alertness, the adrenaline coursing through my veins. The experience was a stark reminder of the unpredictability of human intentions and the lengths to which desperation can drive a person. As I finally made my way home, the weight of the night's events pressed heavily upon me, a mix of relief and lingering fear, marking the end of a journey that had started as a routine drive home, but had veered dangerously close to becoming a fight for survival. Story number 5. On a pitch-black night, with no moonlight due to heavy cloud cover, I started heading back from a friend's house located far away. The journey took me through a dense forest, where my car's headlights seemed to get swallowed up by the darkness. The only sounds breaking the deep silence were occasional owl hoots and the whisper of the wind through the leaves. It was here, far from any city lights or noise, that I encountered a terrifying situation that would stay with me forever. This whole scary episode started over something minor, a mix-up at an intersection earlier. I hadn't seen a stop sign in the dark and accidentally drove through just as another vehicle was coming close. We didn't crash, but it made the other driver really angry. As I drove on, that same car came out of nowhere, its headlights blinking weirdly, not by accident, but on purpose, as if to scare me or send me a message about our close call. At first, I was glad not to be alone on that lonely road, but that feeling quickly turned to fear as I realized they were following me closely, their car a threatening shadow behind mine. Trying to get away, I sped up, hoping to lose them on the winding forest roads, but they kept right behind me, their headlights a constant blinding light in my mirror. I was so focused on them that everything else was a blur. Then suddenly, they sped up and almost hit my car. It was clear they were chasing me on purpose, still mad about what happened at the stop sign. My heart racing, I pushed my car as fast as it could go, trying to escape their pursuit. In a desperate move to shake them off, I spotted a small side path and turned onto it quickly, making my tires screech. The other car stopped, not following me onto the narrow path. I kept driving until I finally got back onto a road I knew, leaving behind the scary chase. I got home just as the sun was coming up, casting long shadows that seemed to remind me of what had happened. The whole experience left me shaken up, making me extra cautious of the dark and what might be hiding in it. The road I used to drive on without thinking twice now felt like a path of fear, reminding me that danger can be lurking anywhere, ready to follow you when you least expect it. I've avoided that road at night ever since, but I can't shake off the memory of that night when a simple driving mistake turned into a